Warcraft itself is poised for growth. It's a fantastic IP. I just want to bring it to as many people as possible.
It's game design, but it's also social design.
Blizzard dropped a massive interview with Hazzikostas and Ollie Longdale. Before a new expansion, they're always talking about respecting our time. But you guys already know the deal around here. For us, actions speak louder than words, and I haven't seen any actions yet. Let's be real, what a developer says in a clearly scripted interview and what we actually experience in-game are often two very different things. Now, you might be wondering if I'm just being a hater. I'm not. I love World of Warcraft, and they are cooking some genuine wins recently. But there are also some massive business shenanigans happening under the surface that are going to change how much you pay for this game and how you're treated if you don't play the right way. That's why I want to go through some specific key moments in this interview and decrypt their statements into reality and talk about what this actually means for us. Let's dive in.
But I think what makes Midnight pretty special is that this is introducing probably the biggest single feature we've ever added to World of Warcraft. And it's an entirely new way to play and experience the game. And I'm talking about our housing feature. In the past, you were wandering this world of Azeroth, you were exploring, you were slaying dragons and getting epic loot and making friends along the way. But housing lets players own a piece of the world that they can customize and shape to be their home away from home, and a new avenue for expression and a new avenue for connection.
Alright, let's talk about the biggest feature ever. Now, look, I'm gonna be 100% real with you guys. Personally, this isn't the feature for me. All, I love WoW for the combat, the gear, and back in the good old days, the story. My idea of progression is seeing my character decked out in mythic or conquest gear, and not necessarily spending my time decorating a house in Elwyn Forest. But even if it's not my thing, I have to be fair here. This is a massive win for the community. I mean, as long as I can remember, people have been begging Blizzard for this. So, even though I won't be using it much, I'm genuinely happy for the role players and the collectors who finally get to own a house in Azeroth. It gives a lot of people a solid reason to stay logged in and invested in the world.
We know about our players. While we have a full range of ages, we know that people across the industry, gamers that is, they don't have a lot of time anymore necessarily, and we want to make sure we're respecting the ways they play, and things like housing allow you to come in, achieve something without pressure, and we see this more and more across the industry and even across our own players when we watch them play. So because they just want to be able to come in and experience something short term within an hour, half hour. So we want to be cognizant of that.
So, Holly mentioned something that sounds great on paper, this idea of respecting the aging gamer. The pitch seems right, a lot of players are older and we all got jobs now. Some got kids and maybe we only have 30 minutes to jump on the game. It sounds like they finally get us, right? But honestly, let's be real for a second. If I am a new player or I haven't been farming every day and I take that 30 minutes and decide to queue up for a battleground, for example, what actually happens? I'll tell you, I get absolutely destroyed. I'm out there getting deleted by some guy who has 20% more health and 30% more damage, simply because he had more time to grind honor or farm conquest faster than I did. If they truly respected the gamer's time with a job and a family, what would that actually look like? Well, they do what almost every other competitive PvP game did a decade ago. Either stat templates or just one tier of gear for PvP, remove conquest as a whole and let everyone play on an equal playing field. In a battleground or arena, we should all be on a level playing field. The win should be decided by who's better at their class, not by who spent 40 hours farming honor sets or conquest crates while we were at work. They're telling us the hardcore or nothing model of 2005 is dead, but guys, the gearing system says otherwise. It's still a pay with your time model. And here's the thing, if they want so much to appeal to new audiences, why must a new player suffer getting stomped in 30 battlegrounds just to farm honor gear, and after those 30 matches getting completely obliterated in the arena until he can be full conquest gear? It's a new player. Even if he was in full conquest gear, he probably would lose anyway. Now imagine how larger that gap feels when he also does 30% less damage and has 40% less HP or something. That's not respecting anyone's time. To me, words mean nothing without action, and as long as your item level is what determines the winner, casual players aren't respected. We're just fodder for the hardcore players to farm. And that's not fun for anyone involved. To finish things off, if all you really wanted us to have a good experience for an hour or even just 30 minutes, gearing for PvP wouldn't be so miserable. PvP should be the ultimate jump in and play feature. You shouldn't need a spreadsheet and a 3-week commitment just to stop being a punching bag. If the goal is truly to respect our time, the barrier to entry shouldn't be a gear treadmill. It should be the subscription fee and the join queue button. It's ironic, isn't it? PvP should be the most jump in and play mode in the entire game, but because of this gear gap, it's actually the most punishing for casuals and new players.
Years ago, we still ran into the same bottlenecks in terms of approval, of creative direction, of game direction, of decision making. And I think our focus in the last few years has really been on building empowered, strong, creative leaders, people who understand the spirit of World of Warcraft and can make decisions and keep things moving forward so that we can work on multiple things in parallel and keep content flowing into our players' hands. I think for those who've been following World of Warcraft press for a long time, past leaders have talked about the goal for faster expansions, I think, as long as I can remember, before I even worked at the company. There were people talking about annual expansions, like in the Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King era. But I think what that always ran into was, again, these bottlenecks where, because everyone focused on one thing and making it great, the next one along the line withered and was delayed. And I think what, as we release Midnight in a few weeks, this will be the fastest expansion we've ever made.
It's crazy.
In terms of the shortest gap between expansions. We've had regular 8-week content updates all along the way. No corners cut, no compromises in terms of what we're delivering to our players, and no sacrifices to quality.
Okay, I want to pause the clip right there for a second because we need to talk about what Ian is actually saying. He's framing this as a huge win for us, the more content, faster delivery, no more droughts. And on the surface, that sounds great. I mean, who doesn't want more stuff to do? But let's look at the business reality here, because this is where it gets interesting. For the last 20 years, the deal has been simple. We pay $50 or something every 2 years for an expansion, but by switching this to the Worldsoul Saga model and pushing for these faster releases, Blizzard is effectively doubling their box price revenue. Blizzard frames this as a way to tell a better story without long content droughts, but honestly, if you look past the PR, this is a massive business play designed to change the way we pay for the game. They've literally restructured their entire development team into these specialized units just to make this happen. They're trying to normalize a yearly purchase cycle. And look, I'm calling it right now, once this Worldsoul Saga is over, the 2-year expansion cycle is dead and buried. We're never going back. They've realized they can package the middle of a story, sell it for full price, and we're all going to pay it because we're invested in the game. From a business point of view, it's a brilliant move. It's so good that I'm not even mad. But we should at least be honest about what's about to happen to our wallets.
So I think one of the most exciting features that we've added to WoW in recent years, Holly referenced it earlier, it was a feature called Delves that we added in the War Within expansion that are basically, very dynamic solo or small group dungeons that rather than needing a pre-made group to do, you can just do on your own in your own time. That's not something players were explicitly asking for, but what we were seeing was that there were tons of players who played solo, who maybe played with a single friend, who, engaged with the game deeply, but then kind of hit a wall at our end game where it felt like you needed to join a large group in order to progress further, in order to do anything. And so, understanding that gap, understanding this audience's need is a big part of what led us to say, okay, we're going to prioritize really adding a true deep end game for them. And that's become and remains a pillar of World of Warcraft today and going forward. And I think it's something that, some players, it was interesting to see a lot of our loudest players, frankly, a lot of our influencers, content creators, were skeptical about the feature when it was initially announced because it wasn't for them.
Right.
They were already enjoying going into raids with 15 other people or whatever and kind of wondered, why is Blizzard wasting their time on this thing? Turns out Delves are, one of the most popular features we've ever made. They just weren't aimed necessarily at our hardcore audience.
Ian is bragging about the success of Delves and claiming they finally value the casual player base. But if you look at the actual reward structure, it tells a different story. I'll be honest, after seeing how a game like Where Winds Meet handles this, I think delves are a neat idea, but they have a massive shortcoming. Instead of building a separate, lesser track, Blizzard should be expanding on the content that already exists. Imagine taking the dungeons and raids we already have and optimizing them for solo play using the AI companions they already have in the game. Give us the same quality of loot, the same tier, just give us less of it to account for the solo scale. That respects the player's skill without forcing them into a secondary gear bracket. But in WoW, well, if you're a solo player and you only play delves, all you will get is peasant loot. Even in the current seasonal model, where everyone's gear eventually gets replaced, solo players are being systematically relegated to a lower tier of power from day one. You can master the mechanics of a tier 11 delve, but the gear you receive is intentionally kept to ensure you never achieve parity with the Mythic Raid or Mythic Plus crowd. Because God forbid we actually get the best gear for the rest of the season, right? I mean, we can't have solo players or casual players reaching parity with the real gamers, right? See, in WoW, item level isn't just a stat, it's your credential for further participation in other activities. When you're relegated to secondary rewards, you're essentially being handed a useless participation trophy. If Blizzard actually cared about casuals, they'd stop gatekeeping the gear. If you put in the work, you should get gear that actually matters, period. Instead, it feels like they've just built a shinier treadmill to keep us busy while they protect the elite status of hardcore players. It's all just PR fluff to sell the next expansion. We heard the same song and dance before Shadowlands launched, and we all know how that turned out.
I think Warcraft itself is poised for growth. It's a fantastic IP. I think, in my humble opinion, it's been underutilized, and I just want to bring it to as many people as possible. And that means, evolving what Warcraft means, what it is, and where it's going. We want it to be approachable. And that's also part of it. Even with Chris Metzen, we talk about, sometimes he's like, man, I wish we hadn't called it Warcraft. It sounds kind of intimidating. I'm like, nobody really thinks that about Warhammer. It's an understood name, essentially. So this idea of third space in our online worlds, we couldn't even define what that means exactly, but we're working on figuring that out. We want people to come in and hang out and have birthdays, have weddings, have raids, grand adventures, play with their friends, meet new friends, like all the things that traditionally for over 20 years World of Warcraft has been good at.
There's this one phrase Blizzard keeps throwing around in this interview, the third space delusion. They have this vision of WoW becoming that ultimate social hub again, the place where you just exist and hang out, just like we did 20 years ago. But I have to be real here, and I know this might hurt some of the nostalgia boys out there, but that world is just gone. Think back to 2004. WoW wasn't just a game, it was our social media. If you wanted to see your online friends, you almost had to log in Azeroth. But more importantly, World of Warcraft was a persistent world. You'd see someone questing next to you at level 10, then you'd run into them again at level 30, and eventually you'd see them at max level. You recognized people. You had a reputation. I remember back in 2005, I was leveling with a friend late at night. We were in this incredibly difficult, crowded area trying to get a quest item, but it was so late, I eventually just gave up and went to bed. My friend stayed on. The next morning, the first thing I did was log back in. I fought my way up to the top of the tower to grab the same item, and there it was, the corpse of my friend's character, still lying there from his final stand the night before. That is a living world, it had a sense of permanence. That's lost now, and it's probably lost forever. Because of sharding and layering, the world feels more like a series of instances. You can be standing in the same spot as a friend and not even see them. That sense of consistent breathing community has been replaced by a system that just shuffles strangers in and out of your face. You can't build a third space when you can't even recognize the people standing next to you. Also, online interactions are never going to be all sunshine and rainbows, unless you have massive censorship, and nobody wants that. That will be the most boring thing ever. Man, I really miss the online lobbies of 2000 and 2010. It was brutal, but it was fun. It wasn't the soy mentality environment we have nowadays. It's gotten so sterilized that it's actually one of the reasons I never, and I mean ever, write anything into chat anymore. It's just not worth it. Somewhere someone is going to have their feelings hurt by the most normal, mundane thing you could possibly say. And here's the thing, the social part of games has moved on anyway. People want to drop in, play, have fun and drop out. Can housing or social design actually bring that magic back? I honestly don't think so. You can't force 2004 back into the game just by giving us a place to put furniture. The internet has evolved and the technical way the game is built now just doesn't support that old school community feel. So at the end of the day, where does that leave us? Look, I'm not here to tell you not to be excited. If you've been waiting 20 years for a home in Azeroth, you're finally going to get it. And honestly, Midnight will be good, because WoW is good. What I mean by that is, I don't think Midnight is actually adding anything truly innovative or game-changing, but it will be a success because at its core, World of Warcraft is still an amazing game. It has the best combat, the most polish, and the deepest lore and gameplay in the genre. That's not changing with Midnight. But as we move into this Worldsoul Saga, we have to stop and see the bigger picture. Blizzard is asking for our money more often, while the core issues, the barrier to entry in PvP, the peasant loot for solo players and the add-on reliance are still waiting for real solutions. I just wish they'd actually follow through on what they preach for once. If they really want to care about casuals and new players, they need to make PvP fair and accessible. To be fair, they are starting to move in the right direction. By pruning some of these crazy add-ons and cleaning up the base UI, they're making it way easier for a regular person to actually jump into a dungeon, raid or arena without needing a PhD in software engineering. That's a massive win for accessibility, but as much as I hope they fully commit to that path across the whole game, honestly I seriously doubt it. Midnight is going to be a polished, fun experience because it's WoW. But don't let the new features distract you from the fact that the old promises and the yearly bill increase are very much here to stay. But hey, that's just my take. If you want to check the full interview, links in the description. Hit subscribe if you liked the video and I'll catch you in the next one. Z out. Peace.